Mount Pleasant, Iowa.
Of course you are.
Yes.
Did you hear that? Yes, Mount Pleasant, Iowa. So we're going to start the meeting with our inspiration, and I'm pretty sure Jude is doing our inspiration. Careful records.
You know, it's really pretty hard, I think, lately to find a lot of inspiration. There seems to be a lot of controversy and everything in our country. So I was looking to find something that would be inspiring. And I came across a piece that was written by a dean of school management in the US, but he has family in the Ukraine. And he wrote a piece on servant leadership. So I just want to read a little bit of that piece. Servant leadership is based on the premise that the leaders who are best able to motivate followers to undertake seemingly Herculean challenges are those who focus least on satisfying their own personal needs and most on prioritizing fulfillment of their followers' needs. Leaders who are more concerned about others than of themselves are humble, and their humility forges strong bonds with those that lead and motivates commitment and self-sacrifice toward a valued collective set of goals. So I was thinking about that, and who was it that, you know, who I could find even like in our country that was inspirational. And I came back to the medical and the teaching aspects of our communities that we live in. These people had to make so many adjustments. Medical people had to put on all kinds of paraphernalia. I think I wouldn't drink anything because if you had to go in and use the bathroom, it would take forever to get them off and then put them back on. But I also was sitting at my computer and had made a picture that we had taken the day that we were stuffing Easter eggs. And I looked at it and I looked at all of you that are there, and I can attribute to just about everybody here roles that they play that are inspirational all the time. And that's one of the beauties of being in Rotary. It's one of the things Don loved about it. I look at you, Sally, because you really keep that food shelf going and make such a difference in people's lives every single day. Eric and Rick, who, you know, led our town through all kinds of things, make a difference. I look at Dave and his hearing at Respite House after Don died, and how much you give to that day. You get up in the morning and make breakfast for people that are there. Chris, who just has made God knows how many ramps and just made a prayer box for his church here. So we have Debbie that was in the legislature for us. I mean, I could go on and on with each and every one of you. So what it came down to, it made me remember something that I had heard a long time ago from Maya Angelou. And that's kind of what leadership means to me. She said, I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you do, but people will never forget how you make them feel. So I thank you for every week when we have our meetings, because you remind me that if we just go one-to-one, it makes a huge difference. And Charlie, you probably don't remember, exactly 6 years ago today that Don found out he was terminal. And you stuck with us and did the service for him and everything. So I can't imagine a better inspiration than you. So thank you all.
Thank you, Jude. Okay, so in the category of tough act to follow, Andy, are you doing our cog today?
Am I doing what?
The cog,
I don't think so.
Rotary cog. Okay,
Didn't know anything about that.
okay. Does
And
anybody?
I tried to ad lib, but I'm still not sure what it's supposed to be.
Rotary minute. Think Rotary minute.
Already minute.
Yeah, I will.
Okay,
Sorry.
Charlie's gonna do it.
Deer in the headlights.
We have lots of Rotary programs and each of you have probably been involved in more than one. But not only do we have the local programs that we have, but we have district programs and national programs and international programs. You know, some of us have been to Honduras and Mexico and worked. But one of the programs that we have is a Rotary Youth Leadership Award, where we take people that are potential leaders that are sophomores in high school and take a bunch of them together from all around our district, northern New Hampshire, northern Vermont, and Quebec, south of the river, above those. And we let them have leadership building experiences. For some reason, we haven't gotten applicants this year, but it's a fantastic opportunity for these sophomores in high school. And the school takes 96 kids and brings them together in these team building and leadership building activities. And this year we only have 24 applicants in the district so far. If any of you know anybody who's a sophomore in high school who you think has leadership potential, I send them to the website and get the applications in. If any of you know any way to make a contact in the schools to get sophomores excited about this opportunity to go to Lyndonville and spend 4 days with a group of their age group in learning leadership and team building.
Charlie
we
mentioned
need
the
to,
weekend.
I can't remember the date.
It should be the weekend of the 20th,
June,
of the
yeah.
20th, 21st.
Yeah.
20th and 21st of June.
Should be that. yeah.
Okay, I just, it's not something that I keep in my mind, but anybody that has any possibility of getting people to take advantage of the opportunities. You know, one of the things that happens in life is that we see opportunities go by. I know in my own life that there's so many things that I could have done better if I had just had known how to take advantage of opportunities. And this is a way to get some kids really excited and involved in life.
Sally, you're back up.
Sorry, didn't keep talking long enough.
It's okay. I was doing my favorite role, compost. So does anybody have any announcements they need to make before we go to our speaker? Okay, then Barb, you're up.
All right.
Leslie had her.
Oh, Leslie, of course.
Just very quickly, the town of Williston is working on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and they will be putting together kind of their mission statement and their plan for that, and they're looking for people who are interested. So I will send that information out, but is there anybody who just knows that that's something they'd really like to do, so I can pass it specifically to them? And I can't really see the room, so.
No one
Okay.
has their hand up.
Okay, and then also the Williston Community Theater's first season is obviously this season, and we all participated in purchasing tickets for the gala, which is on June 23rd at 6:30. And so Helen wanted to know if we wanted to have a booth or if we had any members who were interested in parking cars that night or for the 2 other sessions. So the booth we can talk about at the PR committee meeting, but would anybody be interested in helping to park cars?
I would. That's Gary. Somewhere.
Right, okay, thank you, Gary. And I don't
Okay.
know how many people in the room have purchased tickets for the gala, but I would encourage you, if you want to go, to get them quickly, because it sounds like they're selling pretty quick, pretty hot. And then finally, Friends of the Library reached out to me, and they're going to have their annual book sale this year. And so they wanted to know if Rotary wanted to help set up and tear down as we have in the past. So do we have any members who might be interested in helping Friends of the Library? I see a hand up, I don't see the body. Oh, Chris, okay.
And me,
Chris and Barbara, and I probably will too.
yeah, we will also need some helpers to pick out the books, because they're gonna give us 4 boxes of books like they've always done in the past. So if we pick out the books, we have to help them either set up or ripped out.
Is that July 3rd?
It is
July 3rd, yeah.
the setup would be July 1st. The tear down would be July 4th. Both times in the afternoon. Barb, do you know when we need to select books? Because I can add that to the information I send out.
It would be the day before, once they set up, it's usually July 1st, so we usually come in there. I will double check. I
Okay.
received a phone call from them and I explained what our role has always been, so.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Barbara. Thanks, everybody.
Okay,
Okay. now
thank
we're
you.
on.
Can we just remind everybody that the observance of Memorial Day?
Oh, yeah.
30th.
Yeah,
At
so
the morning at 8 o'clock. And it would be nice to have a big group of Rotarians there because we're supporting that operation.
And the bricks are going to be presented.
yeah, the
Yeah.
bricks will be in by then.
Names of the people who have the bricks are going to be read.
Bill, is that over?
Bagpipes
yeah.
and taps will be played by students in the school. Students, central school students.
Is that going to be between the town hall and the
Yeah.
annex right there? Okay.
Yes.
At 8.
Between the
Memorial
town hall and the town hall annex.
And the club bagpiper will open the ceremony.
Oh, great.
8 o'clock. Okay, Barb, now you're on.
All right. Are we ready? Okay, so for many of our presentations, we've had a strong emphasis on STEM. But as Phil and I have mentioned many times, we have to always add the A to STEM and make it STEAM. As you all know, humans have had a relationship with art in one form or another since time immemorial. From the prehistoric cave drawings to ancient instruments, it's obvious that art has been and always will continue to be whose phone was that? Probably my husband's. It's obvious that art has always been and will continue to be an interwoven part of our existence, regardless of race, political leanings, or cultural background. People appreciate art in different ways, whether it's music, dance, poetry, drawings, painting, or even graffiti. Some like to be directly involved in the creation of art, while others like to experience and appreciate it. Whatever the case, arts play a big role in how humans see and interact with others and in the world in general. Art helps us emotionally, financially, psychologically, and even helps us to shape individual and collective personalities. With that in mind, this month, we're going to be devoted to the arts. Our first speaker is going to be right here, Kate Lawliss. Did I pronounce your name correctly, Kate?
It's Cat.
It's Kat, sorry. Kat Lawliss. And she's an artist and an art educator. She was raised in Charlotte, Vermont, and educated in painting at Rhode Island School of Design. And she was teaching at Lewis and Clark College, well, on the west coast of our country. Yes. After Portland, Oregon, which was her home for the past decade, she decided to come back to Vermont. I haven't asked her why, but there must be a good reason. Kat has had 8+ years of experience as an art educator at an alternative high school and dealing with youth education programs. She has co-owned a farm and she's been a ceramicist. Her current projects include painting on canvas and sorry, it's hard to read here, and panel, as well as she works on paper using linoleum and linoleum block printing. Her artworks are composed of mantras and hand-drawn patterns to create a visual form. She'll have to tell us more about it. And Kat has decided today that we're going to have a hands-on experience. So with that in mind, because she is now officially the art educator for adults over at the Davis School.
Yes.
We're adults, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Bring on the grant.
So Kat, come on up here and work your magic on us all. Okay.
I'm gonna take a minute to pass something out to every person.
And do you want the people there to get pieces of paper?
Yeah, a pen and a piece of paper.
Pen and a piece of paper, buddy, if you can.
You two are getting that.
Nah.
Thank you.
Right.
Okay, feel free to open up these little packets I put in front of you. For those of you online, I'll tell you what I'm sharing with everyone in just a minute. There you are. Okay, did everyone get one? Oh, Chris is trying to get this.
Yeah.
Where is he sitting? Barb, how much time do I have? I can work with anything, just let me know.
What do we say?
A half an hour basically, so.
Okay, so 20 after 8?
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Well, Barb, thank you so much for having me and for focusing on the arts for a month. That's really, really special. I feel like art and art education is very undervalued in our society, and in education specifically. So as Barb said, I spent a lot of my early 20s in public education, and then I ended up in alternative schools, working with trauma affected teens, working in very just alternative environments where they don't have a regular art teacher or access to art education. And we found that most people, when exposed to the arts, were performed better in other aspects of their lives. And so what I want to draw your attention to is this first page on the packet I put in front of you that has the pink and red stripes. Barb touched on this a little bit, the benefits of creating art. This, any human, right? So youth and adults, this is the case here. Benefits of creating art. It produces the same things like dopamine to help you feel good. Just making art does that. It heals. It like boosts your immune system. It strengthens memory. It reduces stress, and that's a really big thing right now. The past couple years living with COVID and all the other things that we kind of are experiencing globally right now and exposed to, art can be very healing, which is wonderful. It's a big outlet for self-reflection, and it increases your self-respect and self-worth. And at the very bottom there, it says art can help build social communities, which I have definitely found in my work, and especially at Davis Studio, which I'll get into in a minute. So it's just incredible that having art in your life, whether it's art appreciation or just doodling at home or actually taking a real class, really benefits every part of your body and your psyche, and I think makes all of us better citizens and more involved in our lives and in our relationships. So what I want to do this morning with all of you is I want to share a little bit more about the program I run right now at Davis Studio, but then I want to get you drawing. So these little pieces in your packet, there's a black long thin rectangle, there's some envelopes, and there's this white pen. You can kind of put that aside for a minute. This is going to be our activity. So we'll get to that in just a minute. And I want to show, for those of you online, I want to give you a little bit of a visual here. Here's my camera, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So Davis Studio, we have a giant sign on Route 7 with a huge paintbrush on the top of it. You've noticed that. I'm surprised how many people drive by like, oh yeah, the place with the giant paintbrush. So there's so much that goes on in that building. I would say there are 4 distinct programs in that building, all very arts related. We have a preschool, which is on the top floor. So we have, 20 to 30 like 1-year-olds running around up there. We hear the pitter patter of their feet when I'm teaching below them. We have a K through 5, year-long, all-day school. So it's very, very small. I think we have maybe 20 students involved in that. And then we have the adult program, which I run. So I direct the adult program at Davis Studio. And if you flip to, I think it's the second page in, find this page that has these 3 big trees on it. So this is the adult program in a nutshell. We have 3 different programs: drawing, painting, and glass. My background is in drawing and painting. Barb mentioned earlier, I've done a lot of printmaking. I do a lot of art that has text on it. So mantras like empowerment phrases and things like that. We also have this department called fused glass. Has anyone worked with fused glass or familiar with that at all? Yeah. Okay. So it's not, blowing glass. It's more like using pieces of glass and using a kiln to fuse them together. So it relates to drawing and painting in regards to color and shape and working with composition and things like that. But in the glass program, you can make very functional things like jewelry or dishware or something like that. So what we do is run a program for adults with these different courses. So in each tree, you can read the names of each course that we teach. So last night, for example, I taught a class called Learn to Draw Faces, and they're 8-week courses. Our focus at Davis Studio is definitely on technique, but we are a mission and values-driven organization, which if you've ever heard of Teresa Davis or know about her at all, she is a mission and values-driven individual. And I'm just very proud to work for her. And I feel like I've really found a home at Davis Studio. Kind of like finding an organization that does really value art. Like I said in the beginning, how a lot of the times we don't find organizations or places that recognize and value art education. This place does, is what it's all about. So I know a lot of you here are also mission and value driven people. So on this first page, this is a little insight into how we teach at the studio. So it's very different than, I went to a really competitive private art school where, your neighbor wouldn't even talk to you because they wanted to get into the best gallery. And it was just like really competitive environment. And as an educator, I was all about collaboration and being curious, and none of those things were necessarily supported in that environment, which really surprised me because it was just so cutthroat. So here I am now kind of advocating, can't we have art education and healthy competition, but can't we also be curious? Can't we also build community, build confidence? And so these 5 things, these values are how we teach at Davis Studio. So in the adult program, I would say we have, between ages 18 and I think my oldest student right now is 83. And we have that whole range of age and ability in one classroom. And so as a teacher, I'm like meeting every person where they're at. Maybe they've never drawn before in their life. Maybe they took a class when they were in high school and they always loved it. And they just, later in life, they realized, oh my gosh, I want art in my life. Let me go find a place to do that. So we have so many cool people in our program that have all kinds of different life experiences and stories about art. But it's really, really neat how art brings everyone together and how it really does build that confidence and community that I find so special about, creative things. Excuse me. Okay, so what I want to do now, us creating, I have a things for us to work today. Whoop. Sorry. Oh, it's okay.
Our internet.
Oh no, I've been there. Yeah. Okay, so everyone who's tuning in remotely, we have white pens and black paper here, and we're just kind of doodling. We're just figuring out what the white pen feels like, how it looks on the black paper. If you're at home and have a pen and a piece of paper or a pencil and a notebook, just start drawing shapes. Just get your pencil moving on your page. There's we're so limited as adults with kind of opportunities to play and just have fun without any, expectation or pressure on the end result. And a lot of our, kids have opportunities to do that every day. And so kind of starting by doodling or just playing around with a new material is a great way to learn about it. So when you feel like you have a mark or a shape that you like, maybe start moving on to your big rectangle here. I cut these for you to be a good shape and size to be a bookmark. So this can be something that you can use. The white pen on the black paper looks really, really awesome.
Yeah.
Here are some, ideas for patterns, lines, and shapes. So maybe on the bookmark, oh, thank you. Get the giant spoon out of the way. Maybe on that bookmark, you create something that you repeat over and over again. Like, try to think about it like you're designing a bookmark. What's a good thing to kind of fill that space with? Maybe they're something that you repeat over and over again. Maybe it's something that you start on the top, and then as you move to the bottom, you start changing it a little bit. You're just trying to get someone's eye to move around your bookmark in different ways. So this is supposed to be just kind of a stress-free, just fun doodle. So don't overthink it. Just get in there and start making marks.
It's not competition.
It's not a competition. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty cool. You can say this morning that, you had breakfast and you had your meeting, but you also made a bookmark. And if we have time, we're going to make a greeting card too. There's something really neat about that pen, that it's so smooth on the paper. It kind of has this like fluid feeling to it.
Are there pens like this in a variety of colors, or is it just the white or silver?
Yes, there's a variety of colors, and you can get them online, but I also found them at Michael's.
Oh,
Yeah. They have all different colors. We love the texture of it and how it's almost like paint, isn't it?
yeah.
Paint pens are so fun.
Paint pens, yes.
That's one of the things we discovered at Davis Studio.
Yes, yeah, Davis Studio is all about the paint pens.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
We have a lot of those.
So something that's fun about working with these pens is you can start with patterns and shapes, but then you can always go back and enhance your drawing or make it more detailed. So maybe you have some repeating shapes. What would it look like if you added something to each one? Just added another element in there. Or maybe you think about something called line variation, where you're really trying to think about thin and thick and have a variety of different lines. So maybe you go back in with your pen and maybe you're making something thicker, like wider of a line. Oh yeah, or you could draw something more realistic. I'm seeing some beautiful flowers. This is awesome. Look at you. Just drawing a face at before 8 a.m.
Self-portrait.
Yeah.
You need a mirror, Chris, or are you okay?
No, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Like exclamation marks. Those are great. Oh, these are fun, you guys. Thanks for diving in and doing this. That's great.
You said it was a bookmark.
Yes. Charlie has these beautiful open books. He's drawing multiple books on his bookmark. That's a great idea. I know. Look at this. Look at all these different pictures we're in here today.
I didn't hear it from my great aunt, who was a teacher at University of Maine.
Art?
She's head of the art department.
I think she would be proud that you're starting to doodle on this.
I remember the drawing class in college I was taking. So when I was in grade school, I never had a picture posted on the school wall because my art was so bad compared to everybody else.
Oh,
You know, art is in the eye of the beholder.
yes.
You know, there's abstract art that I can't understand. And people love like Picasso. I don't get his stuff.
Yeah,
So,
You go to Charlotte?
I did.
if they didn't put your picture up.
What year did you finish?
Let's see, I graduated CVU in 05.
I'm not sure.
So, you know, 8th grade was probably 01.
I have a cousin who's still a counselor named who is serious about glass art.
And I recognize the name,
Curly red
absolutely.
hair.
Yes.
Yeah, she's my wife.
Okay.
She was there for 30 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You've seen a lot of people when she worked there that were in there for the
Yes.
long haul,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, long-term team. How is she doing? Good. Yeah, I wonder if she, or my older brother, who was, you know, the one who was getting in trouble all the time. My last name's Lawliss. Yes. Right? Yeah, but me and two brothers. We had 3 of us going through Charlotte Central, so she might remember one of us. All right, everybody, you are welcome to keep working on those bookmarks. I'm gonna start talking about what to do on the next piece, and you can start moving into that if you'd like. So the next idea for this morning, we're gonna keep working with these white pens. We're gonna keep kind of designing with lines and shapes, but now we're gonna think about working on color. So you should have 1 or 2 pieces of a colorful rectangle there. And you have a card. You have a card and an envelope. I don't know about all of you, but this is kind of a, you know, a dying art form, sending someone a handwritten note or a hand-drawn card. And it's really, really special. We shouldn't just leave this to our kids to do for fun, right? This can be something that we do. It could take you about 15 minutes to make an interesting drawing with a white pen on this colored piece of paper. We're gonna glue it onto the card. And then you've got a nice, you know, hand-drawn card that you can give someone or write a note to someone. So what I want to do a little differently this time is you're kind of all warmed up now with line and shape. Maybe on this colorful piece of paper, this is actually, let me write this word down for you, mandala. You know, we're gonna try something where you can mess around on your scrap piece of paper if you want, that little black piece of paper that I gave you when we first started. And this time I want you to think about something that you can do that starts in the center and works its way to the outside of your paper. This is already looking like a flower here. So you're gonna start with some type of shape. I have a swirl here. You could do a gem or a heart or a triangle. And then you're gonna start kind of adding, let me show this to the folks on the side there. You're gonna start adding in circles, repeating things around that central piece. And it's almost like you're building this like lattice of pattern. Here's my one on purple paper there. So it's not something that was pre-designed, right? Or pre-thought out. I kind of like to think about this like doodling. You're doodling shapes. You're enjoying the fluidity of that pen. You're just trying new things. You can kind of just keep going. It's okay if it's not in the center of your page. It could eventually just kind of go off the side of the page, and that's okay.
Be a fun, like, pass it on type thing, right? That is one person.
Ooh.
spends, like, 30 seconds on it,
Yes,
pass it on.
totally. Yeah, collaborative drawing projects are super fun. You really, it helps you think in a more playful way about what you're doing and less about, you know, the finished result.
One of the favorite games at my daughter's school now, we fold the paper into halves or thirds.
Yes.
And each draw a piece of it without looking at the others.
Exquisite Corpse. That's a great game.
I hate the name.
I know. That was designed by the Surrealists in like the 1930s, and they had an interesting sense of humor. So maybe you have some shapes started. Do the same thing we did with the bookmark, where maybe you look back at what you did and start changing the line variation. So maybe you fill some things in with the white, or maybe make certain lines thicker than others. Or maybe you add some detail to the shapes. I just like filled in some lines on one of mine. That looks great with the blue paper.
Love this thing.
This makes me want to send everyone I know a card.
That's great. What lucky people. Isn't that such a good feeling when you get a handwritten card in the mail?
Don't have anyone's addresses anymore, though.
Yeah, yeah. Text them and ask them for their address and then mail it to them.
I've been known to do that.
Or drop it off at their house.
Meanwhile, do you know how much a stamp costs now?
No idea.
57? 57, yeah.
It's right around that.
When I was a boy, they were only a dime.
So how much does it cost to send a penny postcard?
Yeah.
A lot more than a minute.
Right, Charlie. It's true.
Ooh, yeah, that's beautiful. I love this pen. Isn't it great?
Yeah, it's so satisfying to play with
And
those.
what are these called? Are these called something?
This is weird.
They're called, the brand is Uniball. Yeah. Uniball makes.
Self-portrait, Marty.
Absolutely, yeah, but it's.
Yeah,
it's
now,
not
now we're
regular
gonna have.
pen.
This
One of the
No.
psychological
With
analysis.
that white ink in there.
There you go. Why not?
Then we'll know you.
Great.
That is beautiful.
Uh,
Got some
you-
great
you-
control. Mark making here.
Well, that's a robotic crayon.
Marty, when she talked about competition
I
in
love
the art
that
school,
story.
did it remind you of medical school?
I'm noticing your awesome line work on your outfit today too. I mean, look at this, that shirt pattern would look so good on the black paper. So it's kind of interesting with this more mandala-like design. You don't know where you're headed, right? You're kind of going into the unknown, but you can kind of just enjoy the glide of the pen, experimenting with shapes, and just kind of see what happens.
You know, it's a little bit reminiscent of what writers say about writing. They're not sure where their story is going, but they
Yeah.
start to write it and it
There's no right
kind
or
of writes
wrong.
itself.
Yes,
The picture's
exactly.
doing the same thing.
Yes,
Very relaxing.
I'm glad to hear that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very
How are the people doing up there? How's everyone up there doing?
I don't know. How's everyone online? Does anyone get where you can see me here?
pretty fun.
Oh,
Nice.
thanks for sharing that. I appreciate it. All right. I'm hoping that the whiteboard that I was holding up was helping everyone online a little bit with what we're doing here. I'm sorry we keep talking so much about the awesome white pens. But you know, in the future you can check out some white ink. It's a lot of fun to work with. It makes it look super fancy, doesn't it?
It just feels good.
It feels great.
You know, maybe I should work with clay.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, it has that like tactile quality.
Yeah.
Maybe get another side of it.
Okay, I just want to say a few more things about what we do at Davis, and then I'm going to come around with glue sticks. And if you want to get your colored paper glued onto your card, you can do that, or you can bring it home and glue it on yourself. But the idea is to kind of get that handmade piece of art on the card, and then you have something functional to use. So I guess a few more things about the program at Davis is I wanted to talk for a minute about our Thriving Artist Certificate program. So I like to think of Davis Studio as an alternative art school for adults. I gave you a little glimpse into my experience at art school, right? Like, don't look at my sketchbook. I'm not going to, tell you about this certain color I'm using because I don't want you to steal my idea. Really kind of competitive environment. Davis Studio is helping everyone build community so that everyone can thrive, not just a few people. So we've created this program where you can take every course in one department and get your certification in that material. So you can get your painting certification or your drawing certification. But of course, it's not a college level program, right? It's not a degree, but it kind of gives you this sense of this big boost in your creative life. Like I've done, these 6 different types of painting classes. I'm ready to either take my art a little more seriously and get, into some craft fairs or galleries or get into an Etsy shop online. Or it can just be like a newfound practice. And now you have a painting practice and maybe you found a place at home to create art. So that's the Thriving Artist Certificate program. This past year, we had about 150 adults come through our program, and we have about 15 to 20 of them going for their certification. One of my favorite stories, this is actually the woman who's getting her certification this month. This woman named Karen that I actually grew up with her 2 sons from Charlotte. And she's someone who was I think she was in special ed at Charlotte Central. Chris, you might know this woman actually. Do you know Karen Small?
Yeah, I know the name.
Yes,
Yeah.
She's a Charlotte family. So she worked in education for many years and retired. Her 2 sons grew up to be adults and started their own families. And after she retired, she was like, oh my gosh, I have this urge to paint or to make art. I've never had time to do this or the confidence to do it. She enrolled in our program. I've known her for 2 years now. She's taken like every class I've offered. And now she has this like style, there's like a type of art that she makes. And she comes in every week with bags of her art. Like, look at these 10 paintings I made since I last saw you kind of thing. It's just incredible. So she's getting her certification, and it's just the way she walks into a room is completely different than how she did when I first met her. She is just so proud of her creative life, what she's accomplished at Davis. And I'm helping her this summer start her own Etsy shop. She's going to start selling her abstract paintings online. And I really think it's for her, it's less about a career change and more just about a lifestyle. Like, I'm living a creative lifestyle, and I'm really, really happy because she identifies as being an artist. So Karen is a really cool example of how a program like Davis, or just how art can really change someone's approach in life. I've seen her just like light up the past 2 years. She's like this glowing person. And she's, retired from a career and starting, a new chapter in her life. So it's exciting that she's propelling herself forward with creativity and with art. Let me come around with some glue sticks and see how these drawings are coming along. And then it's about 8:20.
Yeah. Thank you, Kat, so much
You
for
are
doing
welcome.
this. Is a lot of fun.
Good.
Never told us why you made the move.
Oh, yes. Okay, good question. Let's see. Well, is anyone familiar with Portland, Oregon? Yes.
You mean the rain?
Yes. Oh my gosh, 9 months of rain and darkness.
Beautiful roses.
Yeah, so Portland, I was in Portland for about 10 years, and that city is growing like crazy, right? So construction zone everywhere. When I first moved there, I think the population was like maybe, I don't know, between 500 and 600,000. And now it's getting close to being 1 million people. So it's just growing like crazy. So as an art educator, every year I'd have to go to school board meetings and defend my job over and over again. And I was just getting really pushed around in Portland, and then pretty soon realized I was ready to put my roots down and, start a family and that whole thing. And I knew that Portland wasn't that place for me.
Right.
So I hopped in my car, Barb, and drove from Oregon to Vermont about 3.5 years ago. And my parents live here. So they were happy to have me back on this coast. And I feel like I've really, plugged back into Vermont after being gone for so long.
That's great.
You know what's so crazy? This is the last thing I'll say. I don't know, Andy, about your kids and their friends, but most of my friends that I grew up with here in northern Vermont, they all left for college, right? And they left, traveled. Now that we're all in our mid-30s, everyone's back. Most of my close friends that I grew up with who didn't live in Vermont during their 20s kind of thing, they're back now with their own families, and it's really incredible. I don't think any of us would have guessed we would have come full circle like that. So Vermont's a really special place.
Thank you so much. Kat.
Yes.
I think Vermont's lucky to have you back.
Oh, thank you.
So while you all are finishing up your little projects, I have a couple of announcements.
I'm supposed to say that we
Oh,
want to
great.
thank,
Yes.
as we're doodling away, and my husband's going to show me his great art.
Bizarre.
We sometimes do the paint and what is that called? The paint and drink, whatever, sip and paint, whatever.
It is painting and drinking.
It is. And then he'll tell me he's done his version of Starry Night. Anyway, as a thank you, Kat, we are making a donation to the Williston Central Mentoring Program.
Oh, that's great.
I should say more because I'm so involved in it and I never know what the spiel is that I'm supposed to say.
Well, I'm going to mention it a little bit too.
Okay, so all right. But anyway, I thank you and I have a special card for you, which I will be sending to you.
Awesome.
Possibly put mine in there. Thank you so much.
The special card is on a piece of purple paper and it's got a drawing on it. So speaking of mentoring program, you may recall that I asked you all to bring your wallets with you today. This is a rather pathetic hat, but it's the hat I'm going to pass because the club is giving 2 tickets to Lake Monsters to every mentee in the program. So there are 54 mentees. We're giving ticket vouchers to Lake Monsters for AIM this summer. The vouchers are wonderful because they're not for a particular night. The kids can pick out the night they can go, and they can take whoever they want to take with them. And Nancy Carlson's very excited. She said this is going to be a very big deal for those kids. So the Williston-Richmond Rotary Club is doing that. So if you would put some money in and pass it around.
How much did you say the tickets were?
It's their grandstand tickets and they're $7 a piece.
We got 60 kids, so it's a lot of.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Anybody who came prepared to buy breakfast and didn't get to, you probably have some extra money on.
That's right. There you go. Thank you, Charlie, for that reminder. I have one question to ask, and maybe Leslie and maybe Barb and Marty can tell us, how did the Green Up Day go? Really?
It was messy.
Was it?
They could not believe what you found on the
We
road.
found about half the front end of the truck or car.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Really?
But the strangest thing, I think, is we found several hundred used tea bags.
Yeah.
Used tea bags?
Yeah, it was huge pile of used tea bags, and they were all like wrapped with the
Right.
string, but the little paper parts were off.
It was wild.
Thousands.
So we made some tea.
There was a car, toys.
Vince found a great big bag of toys that
Toys.
looked like they were new that had probably blown
Fell
off
off
a
the
car
car.
somewhere.
Oh, no
Went in the
kidding.
trash
Wow.
can, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it
Oh.
was just
We found
amazing.
an open
Down
can of
to
a
the-
pretty high-end local beer, so we split that.
Right, that kept you going, did it?
Yes, a lot of Bud Light, a lot of cigarettes.
So the last thing we're gonna do this morning is we're gonna take a shot at fines today, happy and sad fines. People who are, just put it there, people who are new to the club will not remember or know that that's what we used to do when we always met in person. So if you have, first of all, you don't have to participate. Second of all, it usually costs some money, but since I'm hoping you put all your money in the hat, we won't necessarily charge you today. And I have asked Marty Lewinter to be my sergeant at arms starting in July, and he's never seen it done before. So we have a veteran sergeant at arms, Chris Stewart, who's going to show Marty how to be a sergeant at arms. It's a very complicated job.
Yeah.
Marty, you're gonna be disappointed. There are no guns, whips, or other implements of destruction involved.
Sergeant at-
Yeah, you can shame people if you like, but you can't hurt them.
To the Yankees or anything.
Right,
Right.
no references to baseball teams.
So normally what I would do as the sergeant at arms is I would start off by saying, here's my fine, my $2 or whatever. And then you go to each person that has their hand up or that wants to provide something. Since we gave our money to the hat, I'm still gonna put $1 in. I was out doing more good wood stuff, cutting wood for the charity, and he's got probably 50 cords of wood already split. And when I went out there last week, the rounds were, no kidding, I have a 25-inch bar on my chainsaw. I had to work one side and then the other. Gigantic, and that's what they're getting for free because nobody wants to process wood that big. So I spent an hour with my chainsaw, I burned 2 tanks of fuel, and I was beat. So who has a fine for us? Andy, maybe?
Geez, everything's ending.
The microphone
Two for two.
closer so he can.
Sure, I'm happy to see you Kat again. Thanks for coming. Awesome program. Have to get organized and give you a call, and I'm good at stick figures, but I can only go up from there.
I'll meet you where you're at.
All right.
Perfect. We can work with
Pretty
that.
basic. So thanks for coming. It was awesome.
I bought a new house up in Isle of Mont, and now I have to get a lawnmower. So I bought contributing to the environment by buying an electric lawnmower. And I put it together, and it actually worked. The lawn, part of the lawn that I needed for is on the water, so I have to go downstairs, and there's a steep. And I got the lawnmower down there, and then the lawnmower was down there. I think, how am I gonna get back up? But they're interesting. They actually fold up, and then there's a handle on the front of it, so I can really just sort of carry it like luggage. Great. My other dollar sign is I want, maybe if I give an extra dollar, that'll tell us what the significance of the triangles are.
Ah,
Yeah.
yes.
You know, tells me. Now?
Sure. Yeah, it's interesting. It's all basic shapes like that, like a swirl or a circle or a triangle or a square throughout human history.